Okay.
Wait.
TikTok has been this hub for Gen Z in so many ways, and now we're seeing them kind of turn their eye towards the criminal justice system.
Calling all true crime fans.
It's not supposed to happen in Beverly Hills. A movie executive and his wife were brutally slain in their $1 million mansion.
As I went into the room, I just started firing.
What was in front of you?
My parents.
Millions of young people are looking back online and they're re-examining old news stories from the 90s and 2000s particularly, and looking at them with a fresh set of eyes.
The Menendez brothers' story was one of the most sensational murder trials of the 1990s. You saw spoiled rich kids spinning out of control.
So when the videos first started coming out, the content being created around the Menendez brothers was about how hot they were.
The first videos that my son showed me on TikTok were a lot of young women who were lip-syncing to the Britney Spears song, Mama, I'm in Love with a Criminal.
Mama, I'm in love with a criminal.
People are like, oh, who is this like hot guy on the court stand? You know, like, and then I think people started doing the research into the Menendez case and being like, oh, this is like sick and twisted. Like, this is so wrong.
It's a lot of kids going back, watching court TV, seeing how everything was portrayed, but looking at it with a fresh set of eyes and a different set of values.
This new movement probably started approximately when Court TV published the original courtroom footage. For the first time, people could be a Menendez juror themselves.
Like, people in my generation wanted to defend the brothers and be like, these kids went through some horrible things and it wasn't right what happened to them.
They said they did it because they'd been sexually abused. The question in the trial, if you believe that they were sexually abused, does that lessen their responsibility for murder?
I think there is such an emotional response because this case involves sexual abuse of children.
The emotion was just so real to me, raw, authentic. I believed it. I don't believe that someone could fake that kind of emotion.
These kids have a lot of power to shape the cultural narrative. You know, things start trending, and before you know it, you have millions of people that aren't even on TikTok paying attention to this case again.
My name is Lyle Menendez. I've been incarcerated 31 years. I am the kid that did kill his parents, and no river of tears has changed that, and no amount of regret has changed it. You are often defined by a few moments of your life, but that's not who you are in your life. Your life is your totality of it. I think I will end up dying still being in the nightmare of this horrifying event and tragedy.
Bring down the Berlin Wall.
Lyle and Eric Menendez seemed to have it all. They lived in this fairy tale world of wealth and country clubs. They were top flight tennis players, one of them at Princeton, the other one heading to UCLA. They were rich. The father was a powerful Hollywood executive.
They had achieved the American dream. They were living in the mansion in Beverly Hills. They were living behind the gate. So on the outside, to most people, this was the perfect all-American family.
People assume that if you have money, you have no problems. And you're certainly not going to do anything like kill your parents because you got it made. And it turns out that rich people have dysfunctional families just as much as poor people. One kid killing the parents is a bad seed. Two kids killing the parents is a bad family. Jose Menendez was an immigrant. He wanted to make good, and he was very driven to become the American success story.
He immigrated from Cuba at about the age of 16.
He was the only boy, and mother adored him. and emphasized his machismo and his male image. So much so that he became a little bit of a bully in Cuba, and he became a little bit of a monster to the parents. It was hard to control him.
Here is a Cuban immigrant coming to this country as a teenager with very little, driving through industry after industry, rental cars, music industry, Hollywood production, one after another, with this ferocious drive and talent.
Jose and Kitty Menendez met when they were both students at Southern Illinois University.
Kitty was my sister, my younger sister. She was stunningly beautiful. And I mean beautiful on the outside and even more so on the inside. Jose saw in her what everybody else saw in her, and she saw this handsome Cuban. They got married when they were both in college, and then after graduation, they moved to New York.
The sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King.
The most significant change in the marriage of Jose and Kitty Menendez took place when their sons, Eric and Lyle, were born. Kitty Menendez had dreams of becoming an actress, and after her sons were born, Jose basically told her, "You can't work, you need to take care of our sons."
The boys were extremely spoiled. I would tell Kitty, I said, you know, there's got to be some discipline in their life somewhere, and I think it would be smart for you to rein them in a little bit and hold them accountable for some of the things that they do. And of course, she would come right back and say, "Brian, don't tell me how to raise my boys." She wanted Lyle and Eric to be as competitive as she was and as their husband was.
When I think of Jose Menendez and his sons, the word that pops into my head is ownership. These were his prized thoroughbreds, his sons. They were going to reflect his own glory, and if they didn't, God help them.
The world that the Menendez brothers grew up in was very affluent, and it started in Princeton, New Jersey.
Jose had success on both coasts. First, the leafy precincts of Princeton, New Jersey on the East Coast, and then all the way in California, in Beverly Hills, one of the legendary, luxurious places of the world.
In Princeton, we saw them as rich kids. They were like a step above everybody else. Princeton was about old money, and you didn't show off, but they were different.
As Jose changed jobs and became involved in different companies, this beautiful home in the center of Princeton came on the market. And they just both fell in love with it, and they wound up buying it. And so this is a beautiful, stately affair with a beautiful sort of a reservoir or detention pond behind the home, which again is also beautiful. And she was so proud of it.
Jose and Kitty Menendez were very concerned about the facade of their family. They wanted the public image to be perfect. And one of the ways they did that was they did their son's homework. So the homework was always perfect, and then they would take tests in school and they would fail the test. Another way was to tell their sons who they could date, who they could be friends with.
Lyle and Eric were very influenced by what their father thought, and they wanted at all times to please Dad.
The affluence was all around them, but they were expected to work for it, and the work was to become tennis stars.
They were going to be at the country club owning the scene there. They were going to have beautiful girls on their arms and go to Ivy League top-notch colleges.
He gave them everything in Princeton. Limousine rides to New York, limo rides to school, because in that extent, he was showing off through the kids.
Lyle Menendez was going to be the better, improved version of Jose. For Jose Menendez, having a son go to an Ivy League school like Princeton was the end of the American dream. But Lyle Menendez had mediocre grades, was not a great student. He really wasn't Princeton material. He was a very strong tennis player. And so through a combination of his tennis abilities, and also Jose Menendez made a $50,000 donation to Princeton, he was able to actually get his son into the school.
But Lyle was flunking out of Princeton, not only academically, but socially. He was doing things he wasn't supposed to do.
He was accused at one point of plagiarizing a paper, and he was suspended for that. Jose Menendez rushed in to meet with the dean and to try to save his son, to try to stop the suspension. But his pleas didn't work.
Joe was never satisfied. Lyle and Eric, I think, had a strong fear of Dad. It was so obvious, but it was not spoken.
Jose was such a dominant force in that family that the brothers looked at him, it was like he was the son, and blotted everything else out.
The impression I got about Jose Menendez's character was that he could be charming when he chose to, but that his basic nature was very abusive, and that he was abusive to his sons especially and to his wife.
Describe your relationship with your father.
Brutal. Painful. Torturous. And yet, I admired him because he was so strong, and he was everything that success was, that I was taught that success was. And I thought that he was the most powerful and brilliant person I had ever met.
To me, the Menendez brothers became homicidal monsters that were shaped by Jose Menendez.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.